Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and hey, happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's having a beautiful Tuesday. Hope everyone's having the best Tuesday possible that you could ever have in your good old cryptocurrency life. We have plenty of price action to discuss as Bitcoin is moving right now, but before I get into that, I need to remind myself to actually talk about something that is relevant to you, or perhaps relevant to you, in that all my programs are on sale for 20% off with the code HOLIDAY20 in all capitals, just spelled exactly the way that you'd think it would be. Anyways, getting to the live scene right over here. Of course, just want to remind people that, and also that comes with access to the VIP Discord, or the VIP Discord. I hate that I use that term. The hidden Discord is what I like to say. And again, it's not a fucking signals group. It's just for people who have invested in that program to come together and talk out, some strategies, talk about things relevant to the program. It's kind of like a more verified group, I suppose you could say. Everyone's coming from the same sort of background of knowledge, and we just have really good discussions over there. Yes, we do joke around here and there, but overall, I fucking love those guys. Anyways, let's get into the charts right over here as Bitcoin is actually moving. That's what you came here for. No more talking about bullshit like that. And Bitcoin having a nice 10% rally yesterday, and everyone's got bullish, as people do when you have a $200, $300 rally. It's taking a stab right into our 3,600 level, going over to the Bitstamp chart right over here, perfectly hitting the bottom side of this blue box territory and selling off from there. So I actually did take a scalp on that. I exited it before I went to sleep, so I only got about a little bit over $100 on this guy. And now it's kind of spilling over a little bit more. Just to show my positions, don't really have too much positions going on. I'm actually out of, I'm out of all of my my hedge longs and all that kind of stuff. I did use that rally to get out of it as well. They just had the settlements, so I can't really show the amount on that, but the long hedge actually made a little bit over a Bitcoin and a half, so not bad. But going back on over here, I will be looking to get hedged once again. Anywhere around 3,400 is where I'm essentially bidding. So again, understand that I'm not bullish or anything like that. I just want to get back to delta neutral. I don't want to be naked short right now. So that's important to me. So I'll be looking for anywhere around 3,400 is kind of where I have my eyes on the prize on that guy. So yes, as long as Bitcoin is above that 3,400, more importantly, I do want to be respectful of a potential another try to that 3,600 area. Now, again, everyone's getting very bullish off of a, what's it called? Like how much was this? About a $300 rally? No, $250 rally. Yeah, about $250 to $300 rally, which, is great. I mean, everyone should get, you want everyone to do that so that we can actually, play out this fucking market cycle is what you really want. It's a terrible thing to say, but that is kind of how markets work. But be aware that, hey, as long as you're below essentially your prior high right over here, it's very difficult to get excited about this. And when I say below, I mean on a closing dildo basis. So you close your dildos over here at 35.26.5 on BitMexico. Over here we closed yesterday at 34.95.5. So keep that one in mind. As long as you're kind of below that area, you are just creating another lower high. So again, keep in mind the higher time frames. Also understand that this dildo right here, while it does look very impressive, does look very powerful, you look at the actual volume on this, and there's about a little over 2 billion done yesterday, which without context probably sounds very impressive. However, let's look at the other potential, or sorry, the last couple of bounces in Bitcoins in the last few weeks. Well, you had this guy right over here. That was actually more. That was significantly more, about a $500 million more than what we did over here, doing 2.75 billion. Then you look at this guy right over here, producing that nice bounce that we had in the low 4,000s. That was actually almost double what we just did yesterday, done in this 124-hour period right over here, for almost 4 billion. So again, put things into perspective and understand that this, you don't fucking end a bear market with one dildo. You can certainly change it around, but I'm looking at this guy right over here, and understand that this has done essentially nothing from a higher time frame perspective. Now, when we're looking at the lower time frames and talking about those ideas in this area right over here, just putting back on these is probably make more sense with the horizontals. Yeah, once you broke back above this area right over here, that was, that did change around some of the lower time frame things, but again, it needs to do a lot more work from a higher time frame perspective. You're not going to destroy a bear market with a couple hours of bullishness. So, yesterday, obviously, we spoke about on the morning video that the second that you break up above 3250-ish area, this guy right over here, it was time to no longer be short. I got out of most of my shorts. I was going delta neutral on my shorts, or on my accounts, right around 3250, as I showed yesterday. So again, I didn't get long off this. I'm not interested. I mean, I had a long hedge, obviously I did get out of that somewhere right around here, a little bit above 3500. And now I'm going to be reloading a little bit lower. So that's kind of what was going on. You do have a little bit of a bear trap down around here. The question is, how much continuation do we get? How long can you hang up? Can you hang out above 3,400? 3,400 being a very critical area. And if you want just the meat and potatoes of this video, and you want something very easy to digest and just go off of that, again, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but what I could say is, if you want life to be easy on yourself, just look at the 12-hour 21 exponential right over here. That's around hair under 3,400. As long as you're closing 12 hours above there, and I mean 12-hour dildos above there, you have to be, or at least I have to be respectful of the upside. So I do want to be essentially neutral on my positions. So looking at this guy, yes, as long as we're above there, be respectful of that. The second that you close below that area, though, yes, very, 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 very likely that you do revisit your prior lows at around 3,200 and probably do break lower from there. Keep in mind, Bitcoin likely to get stuck actually a little bit at this level, I would imagine. Just a little bit of that stuck in the mud action. Again, keep in mind that in 2014, you have a great example of what I believe we're probably doing right now in this guy right over here, where look at the volume characteristics on this. We've been speaking about how this area right over here is not capitulation. It is not the traditional bottom that I'm looking for. That can be quoted very terrible ways. But my point is that, when you look at the volume down around here, it's not capitulation volume. It is not a capitulation reaction. It is not, it doesn't look like one, doesn't smell like one, doesn't taste like one. It's probably not one. Now, going back on over here, just kind of denote what I am looking for capitulation. Let's just look at the last time Bitcoin really had a great, obvious one right over here. So first things first, keep in mind the volume. The volume is significantly higher than all of the relative dildos that you're looking over here. Also, the reaction in general was quite quick indeed as well, moving almost 69% off the lows relatively immediately. And when I say relatively immediately, I mean within the span of a week. And really, most of this move was done within the span of a couple of days. Now, a big thing with capitulation, a big thing with putting in your lows is that you don't get multiple chances to buy the lows. You don't get days and days and days to buy the lows. You get like 15 minutes to 30 minutes to buy the actual low. Over here, when we have 1, 2, 3 weeks essentially stabbing down into this 3,200 area right over here, that to me is an immediate red flag as well. So all three things that I'm looking for are essentially nullified. And while we can certainly have a bounce, we're going to talk about the potential of that and what to look for. Keeping things in context, no, this is not what I'm looking for. Also, look at the volume right over here as well. This probably does stick out to a lot of people. And to the untrained eye, yes, it would. You'd be looking at this and you'd be like, okay, I've been reading crypto Twitter for the last 6 months. I'm pretty wrecked, but I've seen the market cycle chart before. And you know what? Capitulation, you just need a big fat red dildo with heavy volume, and that's all you need. Well, that is kind of true, but without context, it doesn't make too much sense. So your actual big red volume dildo was right over here, right? And then you slump on a little bit lower on slightly lowering volume, which we spoke about was likely to lead to a bounce. Fair enough, within this range. Yes, we are also on the 200 simple as well, or bouncing from the 200 simple, which again, remember, that was also what we were speaking about yesterday as well, in the sense that, whenever you get around this area, I really don't want to be short. That's why I did pull in most of my shorts over this past week. All my scalp shorts, I just got out of them, and then I went delta neutral on my main positions. So again, still just kind of holding my short from 6,300, but that is why. Anyways, in 2014, you have a very similar thing where you have this volume spike over here, just like you had this right over here, and then you go sideways for a little bit. So is that what we're about to do? I would say it's actually kind of likely. again, there was some good business being done at this level. So typically speaking, you will follow up a day like that for at least a little bit. I mean, in the past, again, we had this bounce right over here, which was double this time. This bounce right over here, which was about 50% more, and they provided a few days of sideways. So again, I am looking for something like that. But keeping in mind the overall picture, I'm not looking at this as capitulation. I'm not looking at this as the bottom. I know that I have like some clickbaity titles on YouTube. I apologize about that. Again, I'm not proud of any of those things. It's just one of those things with fucking social media. I apologize about that. But I think that people who have been tuning into this content for a while probably know that by now. Anyways, so looking at this over here, also keep in mind when you are looking at volume and measuring and comparing volume between this dildo and perhaps this dildo right over here, understand that this is measured in coins traded, not dollars traded on an exchange like Bitstamp. Now on BitMexico, it is measured in dollars traded, but we're going to look at Bitstamp right over here because that's what we have the most historical analysis for. You can see very, very clearly over here that when price action is literally about half or less than half of the average of what you did over here, which was around 8,000 to 9,000. Over here, it's about 35 to 4,000. The volume characteristics are going to naturally be easier to get higher than what you do over here because it's just going to cost more to do the same amount of bitcoins, right? So the fact that this is that this volume over here is even less than what we did over here is concerning, and also just kind of another thing saying, hey, this is not what I'm looking for. A lot more reminiscent of what you did over here when you went a little bit sideways at this what was it, the $300 level. So perspective again. Also, just as an external factor, I do want to bring up the MBT signals, just something that I've been keeping an eye on. Again, if you're not familiar with it, is the network value divided by the daily transaction value and then interpolated using forward, backward moving averages to create a smooth line, which calls tops and bottoms for market cycles extremely well. Each and every one actually accounted for in Bitcoin's history over here. So I do pay attention to this, and each and every time that it gets above where my curve currently is now at the 150 mark, that is a market cycle top. And then after that, it typically, or every single time, it does go at least to the 50 mark where my cursor currently is now on the oscillator, or lower. So as you can see, we are still well above that area, getting closer though, making a lot of headwind down, but still have some room to go. So again, I did want to bring that up, just like a secondary confirmation tool, saying, "Hey, I agree with you." It's just one of those things, kind of agreeing that, hey, I do believe that we worked lower over time, but over time being that critical factor. Not only that, but let's go over here and check out the monthly dildos because they are very important as well. And the monthly, again, to me, the second that this current monthly December dildo over here took out the low of our prior, which did bounce on the green 55 exponential, that likely is going to initiate some continuations as well. Keep in mind that the 100 exponential coming all the way down around here, right around that 1500 mark, 1600 mark, which we do have a few things coming around there as well. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about that lower target right now because, well, right now I want to be in like bounce protection mode rather than talking about like lower targets. But again, 2400 to 2800 still very much in play. In fact, I might even lower this a little bit because everyone's going to be looking for that 28 to 2900 level now. It's probably going to be somewhere right around 2600, I'd imagine, which is good because now we can actually narrow it down. But overall, just kind of get that out there. Yes, I'm not looking at this as the low or anything like that. I would change around my opinion if you did a couple things. First things first, if you could start closing weekly dildos back above this 200 exponential right over here, the purple line, the purple moving average on the weekly, then yes, I would start to be inquisitive of one. Absolutely, that would be my first big signal. As you can see, Bitcoin has some work to do. It's all the way at around 4,200. And then my no questions asked area where I would start to, create some low humming long positions for the long term, for a long term kind of trade, I suppose you could say, or hodl or whatever the fuck. It's like I become an investor in a bull market. That's a great time to be an investor. Would be if Bitcoin could get back above 6,000, the former breakdown area, which is getting increasingly more difficult as all of these higher time frame moving averages get, migrate lower than that area. Again, just putting more downwards pressure on price action. So the 200 exponential, the reason why that is important is because once Bitcoin actually broke it right over here, it did something that it's never done in literally the history of Bitcoin. It's never done this before. It is both opened and closed a weekly dildo below, which is your traditional way of like actually confirming a kill of a moving average. And that does lead to some confluence and some agreement and shows conviction in the market that we're cool with living under there for quite some time. I mean, maybe some people aren't, but the bigger accounts, the ones that move the markets, they are in agreement on that, guys. So that just is going to intensify the algorithmics and bot selling on this asset. Again, I know that people hate that I call this cryptocurrency. I'm just using a different fucking word, man. That's all. I understand it's cryptocurrency. Sometimes I'll call it a crypto asset, man. Sometimes I'll call it a piece of shit. Sometimes I'll call it the fucking son of God. Sometimes I'll call it Goat Jesus, because who doesn't love Goat Jesus? Man, I miss him. Don't you miss him? We should all miss him. Let me know in the comment section if you love. Which Jesus do you pray to? Bear Jesus, Bull Jesus, or Goat Jesus? Goat Jesus is the one true Jesus that will love you no matter what. Anyways, okay, so not only is that purple 200 exponential a big area of interest, but it also does line up with this dotted trend line, the one that the red arrow is pointing to. This goes to the genesis of Bitstamp, the longest running Bitcoin exchange, which had never been broken in Bitcoin's history, almost 10-year history, whatever the fuck it is, until about 5 weeks ago on the same dildo that smashed through this guy right over here. In the following dildo that, remember, confirmed your kill of the 200 exponential weekly moving average, you actually retested it right over here. Let's just zoom and get real deep and dirty and close up with these dildos. Very shiny indeed, girthy, powerful. Rejection. And to me, again, it's just another thing saying, hey, we're cool with living under this area. That was your bull channel. If you're, if you've been paying attention to like the parabolic travs of the world and and all the perma bulls, this is kind of what they're going off of to get those crazy numbers saying Bitcoin's going to 100,000 by 2019, no questions asked. And you don't even want to know my second target, baby. So again, it's one of those things where I do believe in Bitcoin long term, but this is likely to become our governing factor going forwards. As long as you're below that, I mean, fucking obviously you'll be using that as a governing factor. Your resistance going forwards, just like in the past, which I don't want to get too deep into this as well. But the support trend lines of your parabolic market cycles became the tops of your next. You had this guy right over here in 2010 that becomes your tops in 2013 and 2014. You have this one right over here, which becomes your parabolic top in 2018. And then the one that we just broke is probably going to become our top for the next market cycle. Again, only 2 times does not make a trend, so fair enough. That is, it is an incomplete statement, to be very, very clear. But it is interesting and something fun that I like to mentally masturbate to. Maybe you maybe like to do that as well. Anyways, Bitcoin's taking a stab down into this area right over here, testing the hourly 21 exponential. Probably does bounce a little bit over here, but again, I am looking to be a buyer. Again, not because I want to be long, or I'm not going to have any long exposure or anything like that, but I am looking to be a buyer if we do pop down and retest 3,400, because I just want to be neutral as long as Bitcoin is doing this, and I will take that position off, and I'll go back to being short if we do take out 3,400. And when I say take out 3,400, I mean close a 12-hour dildo below there and break the 21 exponential in the 12-hour. Again, if you want the more digestible piece of this stream, that's what I'm looking for. As long as we're above there, I will, I'll give it some respect. I'll treat it well, and I'll call it back at night, and I'll buy you a nice seafood dinner, and I'll call you back afterwards. I'm respectful. I'm an honorable hodler. Of course. But hey, from the higher time frame perspective, as long as you're below 3,600, pressure is on. Remember, you need to make a higher high, and like the most basic of basic fucking chart guys way to even do anything remotely of interest. That would be closing a daily dildo above 3550-ish area, and then obviously you got your past prior high right around 4350-ish area right over here. So Bitcoin does have a lot of work to do. This is why I don't like being long in a bear market. I like closing shorts, which is essentially what I'm trying to do. What I will be doing if we do pop back down in this range right over here. Now here's the thing, now I'm going to be talking about a little bit forwards price action and how I'm going to be responding depending upon what happens. So first things first, if this 12-hour were to pop back down to the 21 exponential and then break it, meaning close underneath it, that at that point in time, what you actually, or what you actually do have to be aware of is that this would be very obvious and very, very nasty hidden bearish divergence. So we are in the context of a downtrend, and our oscillator is making a higher high above really anything else that we've done since this downtrend even began. Bitcoin has not gotten out of the bearish control zone on the 12-hour RSI since breaking 6,000, by the way. So to me, if that were to happen, that would be an extremely nasty trap, and probably what, I'm not going to say that I'm looking for it, but if it were to happen, this would make a lot of fucking sense, because you have a lot of people who are going to be buyers now, myself included. I have, just because I want to be neutral in this range. I will be a buyer at 3,400. Just again, not because I'm going to be long, because I'm going to be closing, basically going neutral on my shorts, which I'm short 60,000 contracts right now, or is 18 Bitcoins, whatever the fuck it is. So again, to be very, very clear, you have to. I always have to be very delicate with how I relate these things, because I'm gonna get a million messages after this saying, "Hey, bro, what happened here?" I'm like, "Oh my god." Again, I none of this is financial advice. I'm just sharing exactly what I'm doing. That's all, guys. Anyways, so. Yeah, if it were to actually break this area, that would be some very, very nasty hidden bearish divergence, and probably send us back to our prior lows, and probably do break that low and be the impetus for a move into the mid 2000s, the next blue box territory that we just looked at right over here. Keep in mind this blue box territory, again, encompassing the area between 2600 and 2800. We have the 886 Fibonacci retracement coming around in here, which is actually where we did bottom out in 2014, just saying. And we also have some nice horizontal trend lines coming around from this area, which was one of the times that China banned Bitcoin, which created some pretty hefty price action. So we likely do have some interest around that area. Volume profile showing a lot of business being done there as well. Actually, one of the highest ones, since breaking 6,000. Actually higher than 6,000 in comparison. So that is very interesting. So if we do pop down to that range, that's going to be the next likely big bounce area. And overall, that kind of is where I'm looking for potential bounce. Potential reversal area, extremely highly likely for a bounce. Again, for a reversal, I want to see back above at least a 200 exponential, but really above 6,000 is where I'd become a lot more interested. And if that area does fail, then I would start looking towards this area down around here. If you want the full explanation on those areas and why, definitely check out the playlist titled Long-Term Analysis, as that's what it's focused for. The one that I uploaded this past Sunday is where I go deep and dirty into that. But for now, I want to go back to kind of the lower time frames on Bitcoins. But basically, when you do have a move like this off the lows, everyone's going to get very bullish, as I'm sure you've seen on crypto Twitter and all these great places, and even in the Discord in some place. You have people like laughing at others for getting liquidated. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, like, what the fuck is going on? This is not the type of community that I want to promote. And basically my point is that you're going to have buyers on the way down now. You're going to have buyers on the way down. So that actually is exactly what you need from like a traditional money mover standpoint. So you do see some of the bigger hedge funds. You do see Tom Lee, I believe it was, getting on CNBC and stating shit like, I believe that the bottom is here. I believe that the bottom is near. I mean, he also told people that the bottom was at 6,000. It's very difficult to believe a big hedge fund like that does not have access to legitimate analysts who can tell you otherwise. Typically what's going on when hedge funds say that kind of stuff is they're actually using that to unload on other people. So when big hedge funds get on social media venues and start saying, hey, the bottom is in, the bottom is near, all that kind of stuff, that typically means that they actually want people to dump on. And when they say that, and when they say that, Bitcoin, the top is in, no, they're actually still buying. You saw a lot of that last year. People were getting, saying that the top is near, and Bitcoin just rallied all the way from fucking 10,000 to 20,000 almost. So again, you're going to see the opposite but equal going on to the other side. So keep that in mind. Definitely do keep that in mind, as they are a great contra indicator, not because they are incompetent typically, but because they're actually a little bit devious. So again, I mean, that's kind of out of the realm of a talk like this. I don't really want to get into that specifically, but it does make me quite confident for among many other reasons that we discussed before, that Bitcoin likely does work its way lower over time. But again, time being that critical component. And yes, I do believe in Bitcoin long term. I do believe that is going to get some crazy numbers long term. but that's long term. Bitcoin has a lot of work to do over here. Again, the daily 200 exponential and 200 simple moving average, by the way, are now officially at the 6,000 level. So they are quite literally right at the breakdown levels, and they will be, barring any sort of major run back above that area by end of day, they will be beginning their descent below. So again, that's just going to put more and more pressure on this asset. 6,000 being the breakdown area. As long as you're below there, I am in bear market mode essentially. Always going to be on the defensive essentially. So that's kind of what I'd be thinking of right now. Anyways, okay, so we spoke about that. Now let's talk about let's actually go back on over here because we need to round out this idea. Okay, so this blue box territory, it's important, but not just because it's blue, which is a great color. It's important because this actually encompasses and accounts for the prior breakdown out of this consolidation over here, the prior bounce essentially for Bitcoin, which, if we do measure this out, this was Jesus Christ, I can't even speak. This was a descending triangle, right? And with a descending triangle, you can make a measure move off this formation over here. And let's just apply that and see what else, and see where this kind of does stab down into. Oh, and beautiful, man. It goes perfectly to this next horizontal, which is where it's around 2850 to 2900, which, remember, that is, it's a direct hit into this next blue box territory right over here, which, remember, we have several other things pointing towards that direction. So here's the reason why that's important, is that as long as you're below that area and respecting this as a resistance, that measured move, that sort of formation is still in play. So as long as you're, again, not breaching this area, and when I mean breaching, I mean closing higher level deltas above it, which, again, 3,600 to about 3,650 right over here, that is in play. So keep that in mind. Very, 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 very important as we do test this area. And that's also why I did sell the first pass yesterday. Now, if Bitcoin does get another try at this area, that would, well, I don't want to say that it's likely to break, but it becomes a little bit more likely to break. It's like a terrible thing to say, but as long as we're kind of living below this area, and using it as resistance, to me, this just looks like another corrective move. The fact that Bitcoin already seen some selling pressure off this, and there's some good selling over here on this what do you want to call it, shooting star dildo right over here. Be on the defensive. This is not a time. There's a time to be bullish. There's a time to be bearish. Right now, I'm not bullish. I'm bearish overall, but I'm not necessarily, except for the trade that I took yesterday, shorting 3,600. I'm not looking to enter a position here. Again, the next big thing that I want to see is the reaction at the 21 exponential. If you get down around there, and anywhere around there will essentially count, even if it's like 3420-ish area. That's good enough for me. So that's what I'll be basing my next kind of directional trade-off. If we do take out that area, I will put on another directional short. And if we hold it up, well, I'll just be neutral, because, again, I will go neutral before that. So that's essentially my strategy for right now. And also keep in mind, guys, that CMEs over here, gap has not been filled. Gap is all the way down around here, right around 3150-ish area. So again, at some point, Bitcoin is kind of likely to pop back down there and test that area. Again, just another thing kind of coming into confluence with that. But I hope I made this abundantly clear that just because you have a gap there, it doesn't mean that it has to be tested anytime soon. Now, it's more likely to be tested soon because, that is in the direction of the overall trend, which has not changed in literally the last over year. You have made lower high after lower after lower high. But hey, there are times where Bitcoin, has taken, months to fill those gaps, and that's definitely consistent with my experience in traditional markets as well. It doesn't need to be happening, immediately. And it's actually a little bit easier to chart the CMEs over here. You see a very obvious ledge right here. And you're actually making lower highs under that as well, kind of creating another trading range in this 3150 to 3550-ish range right over here. So CME is actually a little bit easier to read. In fact, I do believe that they actually hold more importance. Now, I forgot to bring this up. But SIBO futures will be closing tomorrow. There's not too many positions on them, but we have gotten moves in the past. And when you do have a corrected move up like this against the overall trend, it does make you think that traders will be rolling their positions on, and they're kind of creating or they're kind of creating this sort of momentum so that they can jockey for positions coming into next after expiration happens. So they'll have to kind of rearrange their positions, right? Anyways, this is quite interesting when you see this guy not representing the same sort of price action that we're seeing in spot exchanges. Although perhaps I'm wrong on that, because let's see. Let's just go back on over here. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm wrong on that. Yeah, you didn't do the same thing over here. Okay, let's go check out. Traditional markets. If something very interesting is going on over there. Spies over here closing the day down $5. A little bit of a rally at the end of the day. You see this a lot on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The reason for that is because you have expiration for options on those days now, and yes, you do have like tri-weeklies now. It's crazy. So you get these rallies at the end of the day to just fuck all the put buyers, because can't be that easy, bro. Anyways, yes, we have closed significantly below my last support trend line. So this is what I was talking about. I mean, you got the daily Dolo death cross, you got the rejection at the 21, and then down. This one wasting no time to actually smash through the last line of support down around here. Weekly has continuation as well, not just closing last week below. Well, the 100 exponential actually did hold, but the 89 did get destroyed. But the weekly having continuation as well. Yeah, I do believe that we're headed down towards the 248 level right over here is my next support trend line. But this does have a measured move on this head and shoulders reversal pattern over here, and that would be pointing us down towards this 235-ish area, 240-ish area, right around the 200 simple, 200 exponential on the weekly. And I actually do believe that it gets a little bit low over time. Again, though, I'm in no rush to be short this guy either, just because I think it's likely that you get another chance on the resulting month, if you are to fully confirm below this 21 exponential right over here, to probably short around that area, around the 260-ish area. It probably does get a retest at some point. Remember, it's like what, we have another 2 weeks to go on the monthly. So again, no real rush, but the cards are starting to really be in place, and oscillators agreeing with that as well. Major bearish divergence over here, getting down to the neutral zone. Major bearish divergence on your Stokes over here, getting rejected from the critical zone as well. So to me, that is likely to have some fall through at least to 235, 240-ish range, and then perhaps sometime next year get down to about 220 to 215-ish. So again, what does that mean for Bitcoin? Well, you actually saw a counter trend movement for Bitcoin yesterday. Could it be that Bitcoin is a leading indicator for something like SPYs? Well, it could be, it actually could be. I've said this in the past, that you have to look at individual stocks as like soldiers, and obviously Bitcoin is not, contained within the context of SPYs directly, but it is another risk on asset, and it does trade similarly actually to a lot of stocks. Interestingly enough, again, a lot of the same people are moving money around these different assets. So perhaps that's why you see this sort of interesting stuff. Again, I'm just going to throw out some hypotheses here. I'm not saying that they're necessarily right, and it's not even important if they're even right or not, but it's just fun to think about. But it could be that Bitcoin's actually leading this a little bit, just because it is like one of the individual soldiers, which you did start to see fall at the same time. When you saw Amazon, when you saw Netflix, Google, all the things, all the big techs who were leading the market start to fall down, the soldiers, well, you saw Bitcoin actually start to begin its ascent as well. And perhaps they are leading this guy right over here. So again, just playing around with ideas. I'm not saying that that's necessarily right or wrong. It's not even really that important. I mean, Bitcoin has enough price action to trade on its own. But when these things are moving together, I do put some weight on it. And with Bitcoin, again, not taking out any prior highs or taking out any critical areas, in the stock market coming down and breaking a very critical area like this, it does make me think that Bitcoin probably is in the process of some sort of a bull trap. The question to me is, how high does it get? So, okay, I've talked about all the bear shit on Bitcoin, but let's actually let's actually, talk about the other scenario. There's always two scenarios, and while I might not necessarily be leaning towards one, it's good to talk about it. So to the upside, if you do break this 3,600 level, 3,600 to 3,650 right over here, take out this blue box territory, yeah, you do have resistances along the way, but I believe that you would very, very likely make your way into the 3,900 level and have a corrective move up there. That's where things would get a lot more interesting. I think it probably does line up with some sort of a fib retracement. Let's take this on over here. Oh, you bastard! I don't want that. All right, let me get off that. I don't want to do it like that. I want to do just a retracement. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, there we go. And the 618 would actually be coming in right around that that 3900 level. If I use wicks over here, yeah, 3950ish area, which does line up with this nice horizontal. So that would make a lot of sense to me. So if Bitcoin does take out this 3600 level right here, has some room to run. Another $300. But again, right now, pressure's onto the downside. So keep your eyes on the 12-hour, 21. I'll probably start wrapping up this video now. I'll go check out some. Let's go check out the shorts and longs really quick. Shorts paying a rate of 0.026%, not high, not low, but definitely significantly higher than the interest rate that the longs are paying. We have 34,000 open longs versus 36,000 open shorts. But keep in mind that 4,500 of those are hedged on shorts. So we really have about 30,500 open shorts versus a little over 34,000 open longs. So actually, there's more longs than shorts on the table right now. Now shorts are paying a significantly more high rate. It's not that high. 0.07% is high in my considerations, but it is worth denoting over there. Just wanted to get that out of the way. But overall, when Bitcoin is at these sorts of prices, it's deceiving to look at the coins trader. You want to be looking at dollars trader, which if you look over here, you can see that the dollar value of these positions is pretty low to begin with. Long's actually taken a lot of profits on that move yesterday, so using that area to sell. So to me, again, it's just another sign saying that probably does get sold into. The question is, where does it get sold into? I mean, if it gets stonewalled right here, that's going to be pretty bad. It's going to be pretty bad. It's going to be bad. Let's go check out Ripple. I'll do one last one for Ripple over here. Ripple looking a little bit interesting. Same thing as Bitcoin. As long as you're above this 31 cent area right over here, you respect it. You call it back after dinner. You say, I'm an honorable hodler. I will hashtag DCA into you. I will DCA right into you. Right in the fucking order book. But you got this 31 cent level right over here. So as long as you're above there, you be respectful of it, or at least I'd be respectful of it. Overall, this is not, a healthy chart, not a good chart. Or, I mean, in comparison to most cryptos, this is like this looks amazing. Same thing with Stellar, but it's overall, is it a great chart? Not necessarily getting rejected from the 21 exponential right over here, but hey, it's not until you break back below 31 cents where it's time to be back towards pressure on mentality. If that were to happen, then I don't see much holding up from prior lows at 27 cents. Let's go back on over to Bitcoin right over here. I'll wrap it up with a couple of just easy statements. Okay, 21 exponential on the 12-hour is what I'm watching right now. As long as we're above 3,400, I want to be essentially neutral. I don't want to be having short deltas or long deltas. And if we actually take out this level, if we take out 3,400, close a higher level dildo below it, I will want to be short again. I already took him. I did take a scalp short on this guy over here, but had to sleep, so I'm out of that. If you did take that position, well done. I think you had a phenomenal trade. Probably have a little bit left on it as well. From more conservative standpoint, I mean, this very easily could fail. And again, remember, if we do take out this level, then this is going to morph into some very nasty hidden bearish divergence. You have this is the highest the RSI has gotten on this on this drop ever since 6,000. So if this does get sold into, that would be quite damning. So keep that in mind. By the same token, if you do get back above 3,600, start closing above this guy right over here, the blue box, then I really would be looking for a run into the 3,900 level, a little bit above 3,900, 3,950, something like that. So those are the two things that I'm looking for. Again, if you do the more bearish of the scenarios, very, 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 very likely come back down to at least 3,150. And take a stab down there. Now, do you break lower than that? That's that'll just have to be remain to be seen. But we know the loves to be looking at. If that area does get taken out, very likely do make our way down to about 2,800, where the measure move on this formation was, amongst many other things. So that's going to do it for this morning stream. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's having the best day possible. Again, the code for the 20% off sale, I'll just flash it right here. Holiday 20 in all capitals. Again, if you're interested in that, understand that this is created for the true diehards who want to learn to do this. This is what I made for people who I kind of went through it as this is what I would have wanted when I first started. when I first started trading. So again, made for the people in mind who are diehards, who want to do this as a living, who really are truly into it. Because not only will you be investing into the program, but you're also going to be investing into the Discord group, which I want it's my priority to keep the integrity of that group intact. So understand what you're getting yourself into. Again, if you're just trying to learn technical analysis, if you just want to kind of dabble, that's not for you, man. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I understand people have different perspectives. I actually have stuff generated just for you. The Technical Analysis 101 playlist and the Technical Indicators and Strategies playlist as well. Those are completely free. Those will get you started. Those will get you, from ground zero to a decent level. If you want to take the next step, though, those programs are for you, though. Okay, so I'm going to sign off there. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on this lovely Tuesday. Yeah, hey, happy Tuesday. And I'll be back on later with some live stream action. Look forward to see you guys there. If not, take care, and I'll see you guys soon.